Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Schenker-Passero. I'm the Associate Director for the Temple Small Business Development Center. We help small businesses start and grow, and we do that with no-cost consulting, as well as our training programs like the one you are here for today. Just know that the SPDC is here to serve you regardless of your industry or where you are in your business. There is a service that we can help you with. And we would love to help you on your business journey. We are here for part 2 of creating and tracking a project plan with Google Sheets. I'm excited for this topic. There is just so much that needs to be tracked and managed and kept organized. So I am really excited to learn some tips for today. Hopefully you were able to join us for part 1. And someone had asked about a recording, and it looks like we'll be able to provide that. So that's great. Today we're joined again by Soleil Meade, who is the CEO and founder of Soleil Branding Essentials. And I think she would ask that if there are questions that come up that we post it in the chat or the Q&A. Do you have a preference to which?
In the chat would be great. In the chat would be awesome. My coach assistant, Vicky Sepulveda, will be in the chat as well. She's letting me know that she can't see the chat right now. I don't know if we can move her to our side, Vicky Sepulveda, so she can see the chat and respond to questions. Do you know if we can do that before we get started? There she goes. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to get started and to do a recap from last week and share some information, new information this week. So I'm ready whenever you are.
Thanks, Soleil. We are recording. We are ready for you.
All right, awesome. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Soleil Meade. I'm your Pennsylvania Grow with Google digital coach, and I am elated to be here in partnership with Temple SPDC for part 2 of Track Your Project with Google Sheets. So last week, we really got into understanding Google Sheets, what project management is, and having a project plan and proposal. And this week, we're going to get into more details on how you can track your project to make the different projects and initiatives that you start better to follow. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So again, my name is Soleil Meade. I am also the owner of Soleil Branding Essentials, which is a full service graphic and web design, brand and marketing strategy agency. I love helping small businesses just like you bring their vision to life. Vicky just dropped something in the chat, and we love to know who's in the room. If it's your first time and hear about your business, sometimes it's helpful for us to weave in what your business is into the conversations of the content that we discuss. So Vicky has also dropped all of my contact information. Some of you all have already emailed me reaching out with your questions about certificates, about the content that we cover, and I absolutely welcome that. I am pleased to have the Texas West Grow with Google digital coach, Vicky Sepulveda, on with me. She will be in the chat, and you can see her on the screen as well. We will be helping you navigate through today's session so you can get all of the information that you need. Make sure you follow the Digital Coaches program on Instagram. I think later this week, I'll be doing an Instagram live on the Digital Coaches page just to stay in tune. There's coaches all across the country that are providing this type of information and insight on their expertise. So make sure you connect with us there as well. So let me do just the agenda for today. We talked about creating a project plan with Google Sheets last week. And in that part, we cover project management and the 3 main project management phases, which are planning, tracking, and sharing. So this part is going to build on those basic skills that you already learned last week. And Vicky actually is going to drop the link to the replay in the chat because Temple SPDC is so amazing. They put all of our recordings right up on their YouTube page, which allows you to watch back so you can get the content from last week and pair it with what you learned this week. So we're going to spend the first couple minutes talking about what project management is and some of the challenges that we face when we have long-term projects or something new that we're planning for. Then we're going to get into the skills of tracking in a Google Sheets project tracker, going over some different tools and customizations that really allows your project to come to life and to have more character and functionality that's going to help you to thrive in reaching your goals for your project. And then of course, we'll talk about sharing so you can collaborate this project plan you're working on with anyone that might need that information. So let's go ahead and talk about these challenges that we may have. Some of them might be having to break down the complex tasks. So for instance, if you are using a project plan to host a big client appreciation event, one of the complex tasks might be logistics, and one of the logistic tasks might be finding an event space. But then it gets complex because you need an event space that can host a certain amount of people. You need an event space that has a certain seating style so your clients are comfortable, but maybe an additional room for you to network and mingle. And there's all these different tasks that comes into it. That can be a challenge, especially when we're running our day-to-day operations on top of planning for something big. Another challenge might be prioritizing multiple deadlines on a project, working with a lot of collaborators, keeping your team motivated and their energy high as you're navigating through a lengthy project, thinking and keeping in mind those long-term goals and not just focusing on the day-to-day tasks. Those are all some challenges, and I'm very interested to hear from you all in the chat. Which one of these challenges that you see on this slide do you relate to whenever you go to plan a project or an event or a new initiative? Or what type of challenges do you experience with project management and tracking that you're looking to shine some light on during today's presentation? I would love for you to share that in the chat so we can make sure that we attend to your needs and your challenges during our time together today. I love to see all of the small businesses talking about their businesses in the chat. We have contractors, DEI consultants, realtors. I love it. So I hope that this information that we share today is really helpful. I do want to address that last workshop that we did last week. That's what I was trying to get out. Last week, we had someone ask a really good question about using sheets to do forecasting and projections for your business. And I wanted to make sure I addressed that because this part 2 does not touch on that, although I will be reporting to our Google team that would be something great for us to add to this presentation. But I did include some information on forecasting, as well as a test kind of sheet that shows you how you can track us and create a sales forecast, as well as a chart to accompany that. And I believe Vicki has already dropped that information in the chat for you all. So you can check that out at your own leisure, but it is not in this particular presentation. So let me go ahead and move on to focusing on project tracking, which is what our primary focus is going to be today. So if you're working on a long-term project with a team, then you might already have a great idea about your goals or your milestones, which we talked about last week, or even your deliverables. So we want to talk about how we can better manage those with tracking. So when you're looking to track a project, you want to ask 3 important questions. What needs to get done? What are your tasks? When do they need to be completed by? That's your deadline. And who is in charge of them? That is the owner of the task. Those are 3 very important questions that you want to ask whenever you are looking at tracking. This workshop is going to introduce you to advanced ways of customizing a very complex project tracker that helps you and your team to manage and execute those tasks and goals that you have. You're going to be able to arrange your tracker to fit the needs that you have and to really pour into your team and their workflow and what they need. So we are going to focus on a project tracker that really involves multiple team members and takes place over time, so you can get that insight on what the project tracking process looks like from a large scale level and an ongoing level. All right, so what you see here on this slide is a reflection of a basic project tracker. You might already have one open, and that's something that we encourage throughout this series is for you to open up your own tracker and kind of follow along with implementing some of the step-by-step tools that we are going to introduce. We are going to talk about linking relevant resources to your spreadsheet. For instance, if you need someone, one of the tasks is to review the event flyer for your upcoming client appreciation event, then a link to that can be dropped in there. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the power of sorting and filtering a spreadsheet to help you kind of better manage the tasks that are on there, creating drop-down lists, creating conditional formattings based on color code, as well as the power of that collaboration with your team. So let's go ahead and get started. So one of the things that you're going to want to do is sign into your Google account that is connected to your business. What it's going to do is going to have you log in with your username and password. And if not, you can see where it will tell you to create a free account, and you can follow those steps if you don't have an account already. So once you log into your account, you're going to want to go to your Google Apps menu. Those are the stack of, I think it's 9 dots that shows the apps that are connected to Google. And you are going to click on that, and it's going to reveal the various apps that are available, and you are going to navigate to Drive, which you can see that highlighted there. So once you get into Google Drive, if you already have Drive up and running, you're going to see a lot of your files already in there. If you don't have it running, it might look pretty empty, but we are going to help you to navigate on how to use the Drive and the panel that you see on the left to either access a template, and that's something that we covered last week. So if you navigate over to, let me go back. If you navigate over on your right side of the panel and go to file, I believe, it will show you all of the different types of files that you can open. And if you click on Sheets, then there's a little arrow next to that. You would click on that arrow and you will see from a blank or from a template. If you go to from a template, you can go ahead right now and browse the template library and find the one that talks about a project tracker. I believe it's near the bottom, just so you can implement some of the tools that we are going to be focusing on today. But again, if you missed last week, you can go back and watch that, and we go through how to access those templates and various templates that are relatable to project management in part 1 that you can find on the YouTube page. So let's go ahead and get started by opening up your project tracker. So the image that you see on the slide, it shows what a basic tracker would look like. It shows the various categories or headings that you might have. It might be task or your status or the progress of a task, the date that it started and the date that it's due. Those are 2 of my favorite ones. It helps you to get an idea of how long it's taking for something to be completed. The owner of the task, who is responsible for it. And then you might have a column for notes where you can add additional notes or next steps. And also we covered this last week on how to add the check marks in a box for the completed task. So again, you can reference part 1 to go ahead and get that going. So as you move forward with your project, you're going to start to fill in your spreadsheet with the information that you have and that you need to manage. You want to list at least 5 tasks that need to be completed for the project to meet its goals. When you list these tasks out, it really helps you to break your project into larger components and then to further drill down and break them down into smaller tasks. And then you continue to make your project plan more specific by adding who owns it, who's responsible for it. And then you can add your due dates and so on and so forth. So Right now, if you are practicing, you want to go ahead and throw a couple tasks in there. This could just be your test run, but it's really going to help you to be able to get in there and get a feel for how you can manage your project plan and the customizations that we're about to get into and how to apply them. So the first customization we're going to get into is linking resources. I love this one. Google Sheets has really become a centralized way of managing projects and communicating with your team or your staff or even a stakeholder in one central location, but presenting that information in an organized fashion. So linking resources is one of the great ways that you can attach information and documents that are necessary to a particular task or a project. So as you can see on this slide, it is showing you that we are adding a resources column to this project tracker. And then what'll happen, and you'll see in the next slide, is how we can actually add a link in there. So what happens is you end up hyperlinking this document that's connected to the task instead of just pasting a very long URL in your Excel sheet. We know that in your Google Sheet, when you do that, it makes your column and your row all long, but this is a way for you to make it more compact and name and title that document within your sheet. So here's how you want to link the resource. So first you want to find the URL for the resource that you want to add. This might be a URL from a photo or something that you found online. If you are very active in your Google Drive and you need to link specific information, you can upload, say, the event flyer to your Google Drive and create a link from that, and that will give you access to a URL. Once you get your URL, you want to copy that and then return to your tracker. You want to find the title of the resource or the file that you want to link it to, and you just right click on that and insert the link. So now, for instance, if your title is event flyer, you have inserted now the link to the event flyer. So whenever one of your teammates hovers over that link, they're going to see a little kind of blurb or preview of the flyer and be able to click on it and go to it and check it out. So that is a really cool resource that you have to use whenever you are linking resources to your project plan or needing to add documents. I mean, it could even be a contract. If someone, and I'm just continuing on with the idea that we are using this project plan to plan a huge event. It could even be the contract that needs to be signed by your CEO, and you can link that contract right in there, or the fact that it's been signed so the whole team knows that we are moving along and everything is set. So as you work, you will continue again to fill in your spreadsheet with more and more information about your task. So once you get further into your tracker, you can like add and delete rows or make fewer tasks. So one thing I want you to notice in this slide that you see here is whenever you add a row, it keeps the same formatting as the previous one, which is really cool. So you don't have to go in and format the column with the color and the styles such as bold or italics that you may have put on, but it'll automatically format it to the cells that are around it. So now that you created tasks and you added some rows, then the spreadsheet is going to start getting busier. Now it is literally going to seem like a work field where you and your team can navigate through this project that you are planning. Next customization I want to talk about is sorting your spreadsheet. I love the sort and filter options on Google Sheets. So the reason why sorting is helpful because it will help you to arrange your rows by person in alphabetical order or even numerical order so that you can see each team member's task altogether. So here you see that you're selecting the whole column that you want to sort, and then you go to data and then you select sort. You want to select A to Z, and then that way it will do it in alphabetical order. As you're looking at this slide, you'll see that they select the column that contains the task owner. So then they use the data menu to go ahead and sort the information by the task owner from A to Z. So if you wanted to see the tasks that are due the soonest, that would be another column that you might want to look at sorting, or even by due date, or even by priority. The whole premise is for you to understand that as the spreadsheet gets busier, because you're adding tasks, things are being completed, you might be deleting tasks, you having these tools are going to help you to have better control over your project and the way that you are managing it. So sorting is handy if you like to look at everything, again, in numerical or alphabetical order. But if you want to isolate a particular piece of information, you want to use a filter, and I love filters. So filters allow you to simplify your spreadsheet and view the information that you want to see. So for instance, if I have created teams for my client event coming up, I might want to put a filter on the marketing team. And then when I create this filter, then all of the tasks that are connected to the marketing team will show up. If I created a finance team, then all the tasks for the finance team will show up. And then I'll be able to see, engage, like, oh, well, the marketing team has completed almost all of their tasks that they've been assigned in this workflow. Let me follow up for them to give me report outs for that. And you maybe add that task. And we'll get into comments later, because then you can add that task and share it and collaborate with them and insert a comment that tells them to send you the deliverables or a report. So sorting really helps you to fine tune information that you want to see. So here's how you would create a filter. So you just need to decide which information that you would like to filter. For instance, like if you select only your name to see only the tasks that might belong to you. So again, that's kind of similar to the teams. So once you create the filter, then it's going to filter all of the information that are in those cells below. And then you can select which piece of information that you want to see. Another cool thing with filters is it'll tell you next to the filter name, for instance, if it's marketing team and finance team, in parentheses, it'll tell you how many tasks are associated with that particular team. So that's another cool feature that's connected. And then this is important too, because sometimes you are using a filter for your own purposes, but you might not need it, and you can easily turn it off. So what you see on the slide is how you can turn off a filter, which is just making sure that none of the drop downs are selected or all are selected, so you can see all the information. So I'm going to pause right here and see if there are any questions in the chat. If you have any questions at this moment, because we have covered quite a bit of information, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat, and we can make sure that we don't get too far deep in before we answer some of the questions that you might have right now about the customizations that we covered.
So Soleil, we have Ada Romero that said she missed how to add the resources.
Okay, so adding the resources per se is what you would want to do is, let me go back to that slide. You would want to add a column for resources. So there's a section here that talks about linking resources. So the first thing you would do, Ada, is in your spreadsheet, you would right click on a column and add a column and type in resources. So let's use the example of the event flyer for your client appreciation. So in that resources column, you would then type under that row that you want the event flyer to be attached to, you would type in that cell event flyer. So now what you would need to do is find a link to that event flyer. So the easiest way to do it is, in this case, 9 times out of 10, if your team is managing the event, then your team probably has a Google Drive with all of the information like the event flyer, your contracts and things. So once you get that link, from your event flyer. So if you're in Google Drive, you would right click on that event flyer and select get link. It's going to create a URL for you and you'll copy it. You'll come back to the sheet and select that cell that says event flyer. And then you would go to insert and then hyperlink and paste that hyperlink or URL of your event flyer in there. Once you do that, then now the link to that flyer is going to show up in your project tracker. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, Ada, at the end, I can pull up a live sheet and show you how we can do it, but let us know in the chat if that makes sense to you. And Yashonda, I also can do that as well. I want to make sure we cover everything. So I can also give some time at the end to show you all how we can filter information as well. So keep the questions coming so that way I can ensure that I am getting to all of the information and questions that you all have. The next couple of customizations are a little detailed, but they're really cool. So I want to make sure that I get into those. This last one is a pretty easy one. So this is the power of being able to hide rows. So once you completed a task or it's past its due date, and say you don't want to delete the row. If you delete it, you're never going to see it again, but maybe you'll use this same format of task next year when you do this event, or next time you prepare for this new contract, you might just want to hide it. So if you want to hide a row, you just select the entire row by clicking on the row number, right click on it and select hide row. When you do that, then that row is just hidden and you can focus on what is active, but then you also have that pivotal information that has helped you complete the project overall. So let's get into data validation and creating drop-down lists in this tracker. So here, the image is showing the spreadsheet tracker and we're in the status column. So with the drop-down list and data validation, what it does is it allows you to fill in like keywords that might be associated with that particular column. So what happens is if you say status and you have a team of 15 people and everybody just types in their status, then everybody's response could be different. That makes it very difficult for you to manage where everyone is at. So that's where the power of data validation comes in, because now you can select the different statuses that you want your team to report as. So if I want them to report as in progress, completed, need assistance, not started yet, then you create those drop downs. So then that way you are able to better fine tune where people are at, because it can get real crazy if I say that I'm on it in the status and Vicky says in progress, and we're really both in the same stage, but because we're using different verbiage, it makes it really hard for the project manager to track it. So that's the power of data validation. Let's look at what it looks like to actually step by step go ahead and create that. So you will want to add a status update drop-down list. So you want to add a new column, just like we did for resources. You add a column and name it status. And this is showing you how you would do that on the slide here. Next, what you want to do is select the cells in the status column. So pretty much the best way to do is click on the column at the top of it, so it selects all of the cells within that column. And then you want to go to the data menu and then choose data validation. So whenever you select that column, it shows the whole range of cells. So any cell that is completed in that column will have this drop down box. if you only select one cell, you will only have your data validation for that one cell. So you want to make sure you select however many you think you may need. So now what you want to do is start to put in the criteria for your drop-down list. So you want to choose list of items from the criteria menu, and then you want to type in whatever you want it to read. Again, it might be not started, in progress, and completed, or I need assistance. Whatever those drop-down criteria are, it's really up to you, but just make sure that it is something that's going to help you to better know the status of your team, or help you to better select certain information. If there's only certain people, you can do a drop-down list for the people that are working on your sheet. If it is for a select team, then that way you have to select something that's in a drop-down list. The sheet, Google Sheets will not allow you to input information where there is a drop-down list at. So when you're typing in your criteria, you want to separate the items with a comma when you list it. So in the box where you can type it in, you would type not started, comma, in progress, comma, pause, comma, I need help, comma, complete. And then you would go ahead and save that information. And then to finish your list, you want to make sure that you show the drop-down list in the cell box is checked. And then you save it. And then now your project tracker has a drop-down menu under your owner column or your status column. So this is a really, really handy tool. The one thing that I want to encourage you all to keep in mind is if you are the owner of a project tracker, there is a little bit of strategy that goes into ensuring that you're capturing all the information you need. I believe we covered that in part 1 when we talk about our goals, but that can be something that we can easily lose sight of. So if you set some time aside before you start to create this project plan and be intentional about thinking, when do I need to use data validation and drop down boxes? When do I need to color code? It will help you to have better ease of navigating the project, the task, and the people creating them, because now you know how to set up your project tracker to get the information you need. So this is showing, again, what I already covered, that data validation only allows specific information to appear in a cell. So if I come to Vicky's sheet and I am trying to type in the status that one of our speakers needs help, that's not on a drop-down list. So I'm going to have to select I need further assistance. That's going to flag the project manager to say, hey, let me check on Soleil and see what she needs. So that is really empowering to know if you want to limit the amount of information that is put in a cell, create your drop-down list. Really cool tool. And then I am going to pause right there to see if anyone has any questions about data validation, because we covered a lot. Again, these last 2 to 3 tools that we have are very detailed, but they'll really change the game for you when you're creating your project tracker. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any questions, so let's move on into conditional formatting with color codes. So when you have a project that you're working on with multiple collaborators on a whole bunch of different tasks, conditional formatting can really help you to add some color to certain cells. For instance, whenever someone completes a task, then you can add conditional formatting to change that cell to green, or if it's yellow because it needs review, or red because it needs urgent attention or help. Again, now this is empowering you to say, okay, if I come into the sheet today, I want to focus on what is in red first, because red means that there's some type of urgency. And then I'm going to go to green to see our progress and what's been completed, and if it's changed since my last check-in. And then lastly, I'm going to see, what's in progress and what I can expect. So again, these colors just help you tap into the loads of information that's in your project sheet. So you can think of conditional formatting as like an if-then statement. If the cell contains certain information, then the spreadsheet will change the formatting of that cell. So let's look at what that looks like. So first, what you want to do, we're going to do conditional formatting for your status column again. So what you want to do is select that status column and then go to format and then select conditional formatting. So now what happens is all of the cells that you highlighted, because you're going to click the letter that's at the top of your column, so it selects everything. It's going to apply this conditional formatting to everything selected. So once you select conditional formatting, it's going to bring up the box that's going to allow you to create these conditions. So you want to create the if part of the statement. So one thing I love about this step is that when you pull it up, and if you're active in it now, you'll see that it could be text that contains, it can be a certain date. There are so many different options that you can apply conditional formatting to. I really would encourage you to take some time in your spreadsheet and look at all of the different options. But we're going to focus on the one that says text contains, because now if this cell contains this text, which you're about to type, which is complete, then you move down to the formatting style and then you choose the color that goes with that status. And because we're just going to stick with the basics, we're going to select green because that usually means go or done. So next, if you have more conditional formatting rules that you want to apply, at the bottom and the right-hand side, you will see the option to say add new rules. So you created one for complete. Now let's create one for in progress. So you would go to the same thing, and where it says text contains in progress, you would make that color yellow. So if you're color coding the same column, you can go ahead and duplicate the rule that you created. Or you can just add a new rule. Either way, you just want to update the information so it reflects the formatting that you want to see. And it's not just colors that you can change. You can change font styles, sizes, and different things like that through conditional formatting. Color is just the easy one to help you see things clearly. So when you finish adding your rules, you want to use the drop-down menu to change the status of a task. And then you'll notice if you change the status of the event flyer task to completed, then that cell is going to pop up green. So I'm going to pause again to see if there's any questions about conditional formatting. And I'll answer those because that, again, is one of those very detailed customizations, but a really, really cool way to take control and customize your project tracker.
We have one question. Is the startup tracker template available?
The starter tracker
Yeah,
template,
like the one that
here?
you're talking about. I was trying to look for it, but I couldn't.
I don't think so. So from part one, we worked with the project tracker template in Sheets. That's probably a good one to start with to try this. But I don't think there's a startup one that's available in the templates. I think it might be called project. I don't know if it was project management. I can't remember the names, but we did cover it in part one. And at the end, I can kind of tap into that and see if there's, if we can drop a link to it or something.
Okay, I'll take a look in my drive as well.
Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and move on to our last piece. And then we'll review some information for Q&A, and I'll show some of the items that you all wanted to look at. So sharing your tracker, super important. I'm very curious, how many of you use the share or collaboration features in Google, in any of your Google projects? Type 1 for yes, 2 for no, or 3 for no, but I'm working on it. Okay, I see a lot of yeses. So this information I won't spend a load of time on because a lot of you know it already, but I am definitely going to tap into how you can use these collaboration features with your project planner. So you want to go ahead and share your project with maybe your team members, your stakeholders, your vendors that you're working with, so on and so forth. You want to make sure that you understand, again, this is another strategic point as a project manager, is knowing what access whoever you're sharing it with should have. Should they be a viewer, an editor, or a commenter? If you want them to only see the progress of the project, then you want to give them view access. If it's someone that you want to add comments because you value their feedback and will use it to make changes, you want to make them an editor or a commenter. If it's a teammate that they need to update the spreadsheet regularly with their progress, then you want them to have editor access. So let's talk about another way that you can use collaboration. Most of us are used to using collaboration whenever we share a document or we're able to get the link to share a document with someone else. But I want to show you how you can use some collaboration features within Sheets. You can actually add comments and include someone in a conversation. For example, we talked about earlier, if someone is working on the marketing team, you use your filter, you have all their tasks up and you notice all the tasks are complete. All you see is green on your sheet, right? So we're following all the customizations that you've done, but you realize that you don't have the deliverables for marketing. You haven't seen the social media post yet. You haven't seen the content document or the event flyer. So now in the resources tab or in the notes tab, you might want to add a comment for them. So let's get into what that would look like. So you want to select that cell that you would add a comment in. Maybe it's, again, the resources tab under the event flyer, the resources tab under the messaging document. So when you want to assign a task or a comment to someone, all you have to do is go to insert a comment, and it's usually the comment box that's up in the corner. And then once the comment box pops up, you can hit the plus sign or the @ sign and start to type in their email. This is going to assign the task to them. So you type in their email. I'm like, @Vicky, can you send me the event flyer? What happens is not only does she get a notification because she signed into everything Google that she had a ping in one of her documents, she's also going to get an email with a comment that she's responsible to complete it. That's a very quick way to flag outstanding tasks, ask for a report, ask for deliverables, instead of just typing a whole email and it getting lost in an email thread. You can keep it all in your tracker. So again, as we said, like, your project is going to grow, your spreadsheet is going to grow right with it. Make sure that you are using that strategy to go ahead and set up your project plan to have the formatting that you need to make it easy as possible for you to execute your tasks that are connected to your project and meet your goals. So we're going to take a couple of minutes to review what's going on. Vicky's going to drop something in the chat, and I want to know, what tools do you think that you will use to track your own projects? So we talked about filters, data validations, link files, color coding and formatting, sharing and collaboration. Tell me what you think that you might use or what you're more interested. We even talked about forecasting. And if you're like Kim and you want to use all of them, you can type all. We love to hear what it is that you might be interested in. So as a review, for both parts, you want to plan. The first workshop we did is so important because that planning part sets you up to know the goals that you have, to set your milestones and begin to think about the task and setting up the structure for you to execute this project well. And then this workshop here, part 2, has helped you to track it. Now you are adding the strategy, in that we talked last week about being in that visionary mindset whenever you are planning for your project and creating the proposal and thinking about the goals. So when you're in that space tracking it, you want to tap back into that and be strategic and set up tracking that is going to help you. So Vicky also dropped the handout to part 1. And Vicky, it looks like the link for part 2, I think there needs to be a space in between 2 and the link. That was probably my fault. So you'll have access to the link so you can look at part 1 and part 2. And then also you have the recordings that'll go live on the Temple SPDC YouTube page. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube page, I absolutely would recommend, because they post all of their workshops on there. So you can always go back and review the information that you learned or tap into workshops that you may have missed. So I want to share some additional resources with you. This is what I love to call the Google Tools dump, because we have so many products and services that we add value to small business owners. So I love to be able to provide a bunch of resources. So here is the digital skills, applied digital skills. It's an online digital learning platform that has video-based lessons that you can learn at your own pace at no cost. And then we also have YouTube learning. So you can follow the Grow with Google channel. You might see us, some familiar faces on there, giving workshops and just different tidbits of information. A new video publishes every Thursday to help you have greater topics to grow your business. Certificates is another great one. If you're looking to, spruce up your skill set in a couple of areas, then definitely sign up for a certificate. I told some of the participants last week that I am currently taking the digital marketing and the e-commerce certificate. So, and it's really good. So definitely look into those and sign up for them. Let me know if you have any questions. And google.com/grow is for all job seekers, teachers, small business owners, developers, you name it. You can tap into information that's going to help you grow and just maximize tools and resources for whatever your vision is. So let's talk about next steps. This is a really good slide for you to screenshot if you want to have some accountability for yourself as you navigate through creating a project plan. I know that this workshop has even helped me, because moving into the new year, I have some projects coming up that creating a plan will be really helpful, because I'll be able to just not do the tasks that are in my head, but put them down on paper and make sure they're completed before the end of the year. So let us know in the chat, what will you do next? Like, what was your biggest takeaway? Which one of these next steps do you see yourself doing? Let us know in the chat what you took away. And Vicky also just added the link to the Google resources document. So here you see all of the different tools that we offer, but I also created a document where you can actually click and access some of these links pretty easily. So if you want a free QR code for your business, you can complete a quick survey for me. Let me know how you enjoyed the workshop, what we could do differently. This is my personal survey to get feedback from the participants that I'm blessed to engage with. We also have a Grow with Google survey, and I know SPDC has one as well that they will be dropping. So I am going to pause. We have about 8 minutes left. I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions and see if I have a little bit of time to go back in and show how to, I think it was filter and drop down list.
And so I'm going to pop the survey for the Temple SPDC in the chat. Please complete that. It's required of us from our funders at the SBA in order for us to continue no-cost programming for all of you. And that'll also be sent out with follow-up materials in an email and within a few days.
Soleil, we do have a Q&A question, and it is.
Yes, I just answered it.
Okay, great.
So I think the question was about if you got PDF handouts. So Vicky just dropped those in the chat, and I believe I sent them to the Temple SPDC team. So they might send those to you as well, but you have handouts for each workshop. And unfortunately, we're not allowed to share the entire slide deck, but those handouts pretty much cover everything.
Yeah, so anything that Soleil is able to send to us will be sent out in the follow-up materials to you in email form.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and then Vicki, can you remind me was it filters? Add filters and resource column. Okay, I'm gonna try to share my screen again. Let me see. So I'm gonna pull up that test site that I put in there for you all regarding forecasting. Okay. All right, so we want to know how to, so I'm going to move this chart over. This is another cool thing that you can do in Google Sheets, and I'll show you all real quick. So if you wanted to insert a chart, you just select the columns that you want the chart to mirror and go to insert and then chart. Can you all still see my screen? No, it doesn't look like it.
No,
You can see it
now
now?
we can. Yep.
Okay, hold on. Let me run it back real quick. Sorry about that. I noticed the green box wasn't there and I was like, uh-oh. Okay, so if you want to create a chart, you would select the columns, go to insert chart, and then on the right side, you have all the different types of charts that you can select. You can do a combo chart, you can do a pie chart. It's all there for you. So then let's look at adding a column. So if you wanted to add a resource column, and I apologize, I think my dog is about to bark. Somebody is on my porch. You would go ahead and I don't know if you all saw me do that. I did it so quick, I'm so used to it. So you right click and go insert column, and then you can add your resources here. So then if I wanted to do an event flyer, I would type in event flyer, and then I'm gonna just go to my Google Drive, and it left me so quick. I'm gonna pull up a flyer. This is usually the best way if everything is like in your hands to do. Sorry, guys. So if you right click here on this flyer and select get link, then I'm able to copy that link. I'm going to go back to my sheet. Here is it's selected here. And then here you can insert a link where you see the hyperlink, or you can go to insert and then go to link. And this is another cool thing, because you're in Sheets and Drive already, then some things will just pop up down here. So I went ahead and pasted that link in there, and now you can see that this event flyer is attached to that resource column, and you even see a thumbnail of it right there. The other way is to, I believe we talked about adding filters. So if you wanted to create a filter, let's just do a filter on, probably isn't the best data to use, but you want to go to data and select create filter. And then now you see that those kind of little funnel appears under the month. So this is where you can sort it. And then when you scroll down below, you see the all of the different information that I have under this month column is here. So this isn't the best data to filter because nothing is repeating, but say for instance, there were names in that column. We can do a quick one here. So let's do Soleil, Vicky, and we'll do Ada because I know Ada wanted to see this. And then let's create a filter on this information. So Ada, I removed it from the other one and I'm going to create it here. And then now in the drop down, you can see I can deselect all the blanks, And then now if I just want to see Ada's information, it's only showing me the cells that Ada is filtered by or connected to. When I select Soleil, then now I see Soleil and Ada's information. So that's the power of filters. This is a good thing to also tap into. You notice when I added this column in the middle between my chart, it broke my chart. So one of the things that you want to do is when you're adding columns, make sure you add them in a way where it's not messing up how your chart and things are reading. So I hope that helped. I can't see the chat anymore. Vicki, can you let me know if there's some questions or something else you all want to see? I think we have one more minute left.
Ada says, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Ada. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. Well, I think that's all that we have today. I'm sorry about my puppy barking, but I will look forward to any questions you all have. You can email me and let me know, and I will love to answer them.
We have one more question.
Yes.
In the chat. Is there a way to track who sees the information, like a read receipt? Not that I know.
Is there a way to track who sees the information?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good question. Like a read receipt on. So I don't know if there is a way that we can track like who sees or like a log of who's in the spreadsheet, but I will tell you that with the collaboration features, when you're in a spreadsheet and someone else is in it as well, then you'll be able to see who's in it. Like you'll be able to tell, like if somebody's logged in with their Google information, you can tell who is in there with you. Like whatever cell or information that they're inputting will light up, and then whatever information that you're inputting will light up. It'll come up in another color.
In the history, you should be able to see anyone who made edits too.
Oh, and there's a history. Oh, thank you so much for adding that. I guess that's something I don't pay attention to, but working on a project plan like this, I could see it being extremely valuable.
We've had to use it just in case something gets accidentally deleted, and then you have to go back and, yeah.
So then it tells on you, so you know who did it.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Did we get to all the questions, do you think, ladies?
I think that's all the questions. And then again, if you all have any additional questions, you can feel free to email or reach out to us, and we'd love to help you. And keep us posted if you implement this information and it's helpful to you and it's done something transformative to your business, then let us know so we can go ahead and go ahead and implement that and let the Google team know that somebody's actually using the information that's working for their business.
Awesome. Thank you, Soleil and Vicki. Thank you for everyone for joining us today.
Thank you
we hope to
all.
see you again at the SPDC at a future training event or to meet with our consultants. And please look forward to all the great follow-up material in a few days.
Thank you. Have a good one, everybody.